Cooper, do you know the words? Sure. Okay.
Steve Cooper.
Thanks.
I pledge allegiance to the
Flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Steve.
Well done, Steve.
Okay. So this is the fourth or fifth time that the Milford-Orange Times has sponsored this debate, and we welcome you all. It also is being telecast on OGOT, and Chris is here somewhere. He runs the show. He does a great
He's
job.
sitting over there.
Say wave, Chris.
It's over there.
Where?
Way over,
Hey, Chris. Thank you.
by his equipment.
We have two moderators, as we have always done. The first moderator I'll introduce is Brandon, who is editor-in-chief of the Milford-Orange Times and has served it well for many years. Teresa, who's an attorney and owner of Consumer Legal Services in Orange on the Post Road. Timekeeper is Sophie Cohen. Sophie, say hi. An Amity student who's helping us out. We're going to ask, of course, these two guys up here. Jim Zioli, first selectman for 20 years, Republican Party seeking his 11th term, and the Democratic challenger is Dan Fitzmaurice, Director of Advocacy for the United Way of Connecticut, a great organization. Thank you both. Mr. Zioli will announce his slate, and those folks will please come up here. Mr. Zioli.
Okay, so you do want him to come up?
Yep.
Okay. For my Board of Selectmen, I have John Carangelo, Bill Kraut, and Judy Smith. For the Board of Finance, we have Ajit Jain, Joe Nuzzo.
Thank you.
For the Orange Board of Education, we have Jeff Kapp, Ronette James, and Tatiana Messino Mullen, and Amanda Zapatka. For the Amity Board of Education, we have Christian Young and Megan Rebuse. For Town Clerk, we have the ever-popular Mary Shaw. And for Tax Collector, Tom Hurley. For the Zoning Board, we have Kevin Cornell, Jay McGuire, and Ozzie Parenti. And our constables are Jody Damon, Mike Donadeo, Gary Palermo, and Jeff Vargo. That is the slate of the Orange Republican team.
Yeah, I think so. You want me in this photo?
Let him in with them. I may want to be in it.
Dan will now introduce his candidates.
Good evening, everybody. For the Board of Selectmen, Mitch Goldblatt, PJ Shanley, and Erica Higgins. Why don't you come up in the front of the table here? Come up and stand in front. Yeah. For the Board of Finance, Kevin McNabola, Byron Crosdale Jr., and Albert Post. Plan and Zoning Commission, Gigi Cabrera, Doug Finichel, and Beth Marche. The Orange Board of Education, Kelly Billings, Lauren Gray, Josh Orlinsky, and Aaron Wilson. And the Amity Board of Education, Sean Michael Green, Jennifer Jacquet, and Ralph Margai. Town Clerk, James Carcano, and Tax Collector, Mark Moyer.
my pleasure now to turn the evening over to Brandon, who will be leading the discussions.
Hello. All right, so our format tonight will begin with opening statements, followed by a series of questions based on those that were suggested to us from readers. And at the end, we will close with closing statements from the candidates. We plan to end around 8:30. We're going to do our best. A few rules. Candidates should not interrupt each other when they're speaking. Audience, please don't interrupt the candidates when they're speaking, including holding your applause until after they're finished speaking. Silence your phones now if you can. And with that, we will begin with opening statements. So we did a coin flip, and Mr. Zioli opted to go first for opening statements, which means he'll go last for closing statements. So, opening statement. Please make a short comment for up to 4 minutes to introduce yourself, your sense of the challenges and opportunities in Orange, and last, why you think you are best suited for the role.
Okay, good evening, and thank you to the Milford-Orange Times and Steve and Brandon and Teresa for putting on this third and final debate. First thing I remind people is to please shut off your phones. I heard one chirping, so please shut them off. I've been your first selectman for 20 years. I sat on the Board of Selectmen for 6 years prior to that. I have lived in this town my entire life, of 66 years as of last week, and plan on continuing that. I have proven to the many naysayers from when I first got in back in 2005 that I was capable of doing this job, and I still am capable of doing this job. Currently, it's an $86 million budget. When I got elected, there was great disappointment on the other side of the aisle, and they said he'll be a train wreck within 6 months. Well, 20 years later, we achieved a AAA bond rating. We are in sound fiscal condition. We operate in a very conservative manner. We have the strongest school system in the area, which I'm very proud of. We have outstanding open space properties that we've increased from about 480 acres to well over 1,000 acres. That all contributes to your quality of life. We evaluate things very closely when we do this because of the fiscal constraints. Revaluation, which many were very unhappy with. At least in Orange, we were able to phase it in. While we did lock horns with Office of Policy and Management over 3 years or 4 years, we are not alone in that. And we ended up doing a 3-year phase-in. Our neighbors to the north in Woodbridge, they did it all in one fell swoop. I have people that I hear from over there, their taxes went up $6,000, $8,000 in one lump sum. I know people with a ranch house with a drive-under garage, not a fancy house, beautiful home, but not fancy. They went from 9,000 change to 13,000 change on a ranch house. So, I mean, we're fortunate enough that we could phase it in. Yes, you will feel that pinch a little bit each year, but there's a reason for phasing it in. Guilford is facing a challenge I've just learned, and they're joining up with some to the east that also thought they had 4 years instead of 3. And so, so I've spoken with them about this, and it's quite interesting, and hopefully we can get on that program too. But Orange is very near and dear to all of us in this room. You wouldn't be here if it wasn't. But the one thing I ask you to think about that I put on social media, and I say it each time, why did you move to Orange? What did you choose to move to Orange? It's a quality community. It's got a great school system. It's a fiscally sound as a dollar community that you're going to find. There's plenty of community events to do, whether it is athletic programs or summer events or concerts or shows. There's so many things to do in Orange. It's a great community to raise your family in. And I presume that is why most all of you chose Orange as a place to live. I look forward to being your first selectman for the next 2 years, and with that, I'm done.
And so, Dan, same question, 4 minutes. Go ahead.
Thanks, Brandon. Good evening, and thank you to everybody for joining us tonight, and of course to the Milford-Orange Times for bringing us together for this important conversation. I also want to give a special shout out to anybody who voted already, whether you voted by absentee ballot or if you voted early. I really appreciate your support. My name is Dan Fitzmaurice, and I'm honored and really excited to be running to become Orange's next first selectman. My wife and I are raising our 2 children here, one 5th grade at Racebrook and the other in 8th grade at Amity. My time in Orange actually goes way back to this building. I was on the ARAC swim team for my entire childhood until high school. I made so many great friends and memories just down the hallway, swimming 3-4 days a week. I still remember and are friendly with a lot of those families today. So when we were looking to settle down with our family, I knew that Orange was the kind of town we wanted to be a part of. And that's why I want to start tonight by thanking Mr. Zioli for more than 20 years of dedication and service to this community. But tonight I'm going to focus on our future, specifically the plans I've laid out for the next 2 years. There's just too much on the line to stay the course right now in 2025. My goal is very simple. I want to make sure that our future is as strong as our past. I'm going to do that by reducing our property taxes for homeowners, but still being able to invest in the critical services we all depend on, which is what makes our town so special. I'm ready to take on this responsibility because I've done it before. I'm an experienced executive who has led organizations through incredible challenges and difficult times. I've in fact been recruited many times by local, state, and national organizations when they needed stable, accountable leaders. I've managed budgets as large as $100 million. I've helped complicated teams get their very best work done, and I've helped communities move forward. Right now, I'm the Director of Advocacy at United Way of Connecticut. In this role, I work with state and federal policymakers, Republicans and Democrats alike, to make it possible for families to better pay their bills and try to get ahead in this very uncertain economy. It's particularly been busy this week. Before any of that, I was a teacher, so I really understand how critical the role of schools and educators are to the life of our town. But beyond any resume line, I really want you to understand that I'm a leader that's guided by my values. And my number one value that I think about every day when it comes to every decision is service. That means for me, I always lead with openness, respect, and accountability. I'm running for first selectman right now because I think Orange is ready for a leader like that, who can listen, work together, and deliver results that everybody in our community can see and feel. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. The approach we're going to take tonight is we will pose a question to the first candidate for up to a 3-minute response, followed by their opponent for a 3-minute viewpoint, and then to include any rebuttal. We will return to the first candidate for up to 2 minutes to rebut their opponent. Alternate the order of who responds first. The timekeeper will signal when they have 30 seconds and then 10 seconds left. We'll start now with the questions. First, please talk about why you think residential property taxes have increased for the last several years and what you would do about this burden for our residents.
Who goes first?
Starting with Mr. Zioli.
Residential property taxes have increased due to increased costs, just like operating your home. Whether you're putting oil in the tank, or food on the table, or turning the lights on. All of those costs impact you. Our Board of Finance is one of the finest Board of Finances in the region. They start with zero-based budgeting each budget year. If they didn't spend it, that budget number will decline, and then the Board of Finance will build from there. increased costs are the reason that your budget is going to increase. As you demand services or need things, it's going to happen. We're subject to the exact same exposures that you are at your home. How many of you had your UI bill with that extra service charge on there? I know we did, both at the home and at the farm. So I had people telling me about hundreds of dollar fees on some of them. You know, they've absorbed that. That didn't go away in your UI bill. It was reabsorbed into another area. But our UI reps told me that. It didn't go away, but you're paying it in another area. Right now, oil has dipped. If you follow the barrel price, oil is down right now this week. But that's due to some of the solvings of trouble in the Middle East and overseas, where some peace has come, although today the little piece got shattered again. But that's because of that you're seeing the value of the oil barrel drop. Your stock market is seeing some of the best times it's seen right now. That's your money. That's your retirements, whether you have a pension, a 401, a 457, or you just put it in the bank in a CD. But we face the same challenges as you. And we are mandated by the state of Connecticut to do revaluations every 5 years. Now, you all just got hit by a revaluation. The Board of Selectmen are going to have to wait for the assessor to go out to bid, and we have to go out for revaluation again. That's driven by the Office of Policy and Management in Hartford, not by the town of Orange or the Board of Selectmen. So I think that won't be as bad this time because prices have leveled off and actually in some cases have dipped on some of our residential properties. Our commercial property did not see that same uptick in some areas. Some buildings went for a lot of money, more than I thought they ever would. But a lot of those buildings were stagnant and just sat at that level, and I'm done. I'm watching the timekeeper.
So the question was about what the situation is with property taxes going up year after year for homeowners. I want to be specific about how I want to answer the question. So again, our town does have an $86 million budget, and that has grown a little bit every year, which is very normal and natural. We have to pay the town workers that take care of our town. We have to pay our teachers that take care of our kids. These are normal things that happen. What is not normal is that the value of our homes over the last 20 years has gone up 3 times faster than the value of the commercial properties in our town. And commercial property owners and homeowners both pay property taxes to contribute to that $86 million budget. So the issue that I've been talking about with people when I meet them at their doors, and we've talked to thousands and thousands of people over this campaign season, and look, nobody likes paying taxes. That's the bottom line. But when you start to talk about the imbalance in what our commercial owners are paying versus what our homeowners are paying right now, people start to get a little bit frustrated. We live in a small town that is reliant on making sure that there's enough commercial development on the commercial stretches we have, which is the Post Road and Edison Road. We are really the envy of our region for having some of the most valuable commercial real estate between New York and Boston right here in our backyards. So I do not believe that it's the fault of the revaluation. Revaluations are to make sure that the property taxes are fair. The reality is we need to do more economic development in the areas where it makes sense so that we could aggressively bring in new dollars. Our town really doesn't have a spending problem. We have a very careful process we go through between the different boards and commissions, and of course our schools do the same thing to make sure that we have adequate resources to pay for what we need. The issue is we're not bringing in enough new revenue to rebalance who's paying the bills in our town. So, and the thing is, it wouldn't be such a hardship if we weren't in such an economically complicated time. Right now, homeowners in our community, 1 in 5 are struggling paycheck to paycheck. So even a couple $100 increase in your property tax bill is the difference between food on the table or medications you need. So I do believe that in this moment, 2025, we need to do everything we can to stabilize property taxes for homeowners. That is my top priority as your next first selectman. I also know that other towns are aggressively moving forward to bring in that same commercial development I'm talking about. So we cannot wait another minute before we start aggressively bringing in those businesses and aggressively bring in outside tax dollars. Every dollar in new revenue we bring in is a dollar we don't have to ask for you as homeowners next year.
Mr. Zioli, do you have any rebuttal?
Yes. The first thing I would love to know is if Dan remembers 20 years ago, when I took office, Orange was known as a very unfriendly economic development town. And I worked very hard out there with developers and property people to make it known as a very friendly town. The Marriott up there on Marsh Hill Road was brought in through our efforts. The new self-storage at the end of Salemi Lane was brought there through my efforts with a company from Georgia. Right now, where they tore down and they're rebuilding next to the gas company on Marsh Hill, exit 41, Noble Gas was one that we courted. They paid $3.5 million for the property, and it's under construction right now. Edison Road was a dead-end road that came in off of Prindle Hill. We achieved a grant, it was a gift, really, through the federal government and the omnibus bill while working with Rosa DeLauro, and we were able to complete a road that had been on the books from 1962. That's where FedEx is now. That's where Aurora Products is now. That's where New Met Manufacturing is now. That's where the VA Outpatient Center is now. That we had to work for 7 years with Dick Blumenthal to land it in Orange. 7 years that took. So when you hear that things move too slow, they move as fast as the developers will let them. There's one blank lot left on Edison Road right now that Pez owns, and they're going to be expanding onto it. And Eastern Inc. is down in back of that. All of that has been done and commercial property developed. I think I'm done.
Thank you. This next question goes to Dan first. What specifically are you doing or will you do to attract new businesses to Orange, especially in the Post Road corridor? And what is the possibility for a new full-service grocery store?
Who goes first?
To Dan first.
I'm going. Thank you for that question. I think it's really important that we talk about the next 2 years, not the last 20 years, especially as it pertains to your question about the types of businesses that we need to bring into our community. So the first thing on our list of priorities is critically important to this effort. We have an incredible economic development effort underway between the Chamber and the Orange Economic Development Corporation, and we're suggesting we add another component to that, which is a municipal economic development department within our town hall. This is a common approach that our neighboring towns are all doing. Economic development has become a professional field that requires, in our town, I believe, an all-hands-on-deck approach. Think of this as doubling down on making sure that businesses that are interested in relocating or current businesses in our town that are interested in expanding are able to do so seamlessly and with great support from everybody in our town. So a couple of ideas about that. There are a lot of vacancies going up in our town. We've spoken a little bit about the vacancy rate that's gone up on the retail and light industrial areas of our Post Road especially. One area where the vacancy rate has not gone up is actually office space. So one of my priorities to give to this economic development team is to look into whether there are tech firms in our area that might want like a modern office headquarters right here in our community. We're also right next to Yale University and the bioscience centers. Maybe we could reach out to them very aggressively and give them some opportunities and even some property tax exemptions so that they could relocate their office spaces to our community and enjoy all of the quality of life, like our parks, open space, and our schools, which I think would be a real boon for their employees and of course would be a real boon for our community. The next is projects in, like our plan of conservation and development right now, which we just approved, sometimes called the POCD, points to creating more projects like the Firelight Plaza. It's really a perfect example of what we've got to do. That old plaza was falling apart, and it was bought, and we helped redevelop it into a beautiful mixed-use complex, which has housing on the top and retail on the bottom. And what do you know, the housing was rented out very quickly. There's a market for this. It's very competitive right now. But to answer your question about a full-service grocery store, Orange is one of the most grocery-stored towns in our region. We have so many grocery stores. But I could imagine that as we bring in more projects like the Firelight Plaza, there will be a value in thinking about that retail on the ground level perhaps being like a local market, maybe even a market that sells produce grown by local farmers in our community, like a year-round farmers market, if you will, within one of these retail and mixed-use developments. So those would be my two priorities, those office venue opportunities as well as mixed-use development like the Firelight Plaza.
Thank you. Jim.
Dreams are nice, but put rubber to the road sometimes is a little more challenging. We have had an economic development department since 1999. Some of you have heard me say this before at the other debates. It was started under Bob Souza when they were trying to dodge the apartment buildings that were ultimately built on Prindle Hill Road, the Grand Reserve and the other one that's over there. After that was lost in court to dodge that, they reworked the Economic Development Department's duties, and that was done in 2000. And as I said last debate, there is a contract, and it is signed by the previous first selectman. And the Economic Development Director is in constant contact with management people, with property owners, with tenants and potential tenants. She's not afraid to reach out for anything. And she's sitting right here in the audience. Anne Marie Sleiby, stand up. That is your Economic Development Director. I've said it before, and I'll say it again. She does an outstanding job. The trouble is, Dan thinks she just runs events and prints a couple magazines and runs a farmer's market. Anne Marie does a lot more than that. The Firelight Center is an outstanding project, outstanding. Started out with $6 million to purchase it. Robert Sachs is a friend of mine. What you don't know is Robert Sachs also built Fieldstone Village, which is a home run for the town of Orange. And while they both have bumps and hurdles as big projects do, you have to be able to work with the developers to get these things done. As far as a long-standing grocery store that you're all hoping for, we met with the people. Anne Marie was in the room. I was in the room with the people from Christmas Tree Shops. And the representative from Christmas Tree Shops, when we asked him about Stu Leonard's, outright said, well, we're not sure if he's the type of clientele we want for our plaza. And you see what you have for an abandoned plaza. They then, we talked about taxes earlier, their taxes are based on their value that they generate, and there is a proper term for that. Tom could probably remind me of it, but then we have the process of assessment appeals. Well, if they're unhappy with that, they then take you to court. We went to court, and the tax assessed value by us was $18 million. Ultimately, by the time the court settled it out, it's assessed at $12 million. That's a court-stipulated settlement. That's not the town of Orange giving it. That's done? Okay.
All right, Dan, if you have any rebuttal.
Sure, thank you. So what you just heard, to be very clear, is that Mr. Zioli thinks our current economic development strategy is good enough. What I'm saying is that it's not good enough, and that's not a criticism of any individual. That's not a criticism of any single organization. Our community can do better with economic development, and I believe we will do better when I'm first selectman. And we're going to have to work together. That is my commitment, whether you're a nonprofit organization, a town department, or a citizen who believes that we can do an increased amount of smart economic development in our town, because bottom line is if we don't, your property taxes are going to go up year after year after year, while neighboring towns like West Haven and Milford continue to produce economic results that benefit their residents.
Next question. What are your thoughts on the future of housing in Orange? How do you plan to effectively balance things like housing for the senior population and the 10% affordable housing mandate while preserving the town's history and landscape? Jim, you'll go first.
The town met their quota for affordable housing. The town has a 4-year moratorium that started in August of a year ago, so there's still not quite 3 years left on that moratorium. Because every time a project was coming forward to us, I worked with the developers to get a piece in there with an affordable component to it, whether it be Fieldstone Village, Beecher Walk, or several of the others. And every one of them has that component except for Firelight. That's a full market rate facility. So we met that quota. Many towns around us have contacted us asking us how we met that quota. We're at like 7%, which is then that you have to apply. We had boxes full of paperwork that had to go to Hartford, and they had 90 days to make that decision. And it was challenged by the creator of the Affordable Housing Act, and the state ruled in the town of Orange's favor. We've been contacted by several other communities from Bethel on up as to how it happened. Many people don't know, Orange has a zoning rule that allows for a senior apartment on their home. If you have a mother, father, husband, wife, and you want your children to be here, your house is too big, as long as your lot will comply with the setbacks and septic requirements that we have, add on to your house. Your children can take your house, and you can live, downsize, and be with your family. Not everybody wants to do that, but it is another option. As far as development, there's going to be another senior, I think, I'm not sure if it's going to be 55 or 62, project coming forward on Peck Lane behind Raymore and Flanagan. That one took about 4 years so far to get the buyers and sellers, and then the buyer sold it to another buyer. There was a lot of hoopla with that one, but that's going to be another project you're going to see, and it is coming. And we have met with those developers. They're the same men that own Spruce Manor directly across the street from that one, the building that's behind Trader Joe's. What does that mean? 30 seconds? So we are working on that, and you do have options, but a lot of it is hinged on the size of your lot. If you have a small lot, your setbacks and stuff or your septic requirements sometimes can't be met. That's also driven by guidelines of state and local. Okay.
Dan, your turn.
So the gist of this question is about housing affordability and those concerns when it comes to seniors in particular, but also making sure we maintain the character of our town. I've met so many people in this community for whom the #1 reason they chose to live in this town is because of our schools. I think that's going to continue for many generations, but I just want to start by framing that out. It's critically important that we have the very best schools in the state, That has been the lifeblood of this community for generations, and we've got to make sure we're paying attention to our schools for the future generations as well. It's not just about educating our young people. Obviously, I'm passionate about that as a parent and a former educator. It does tie back to our property values and the quality of life in our town. Right now, though, the median sales price for a house in our town is $600,000. I could not afford to live in Orange right now if I were looking to buy a home. And I think that I am part of the character of this town, and families like mine that have working class jobs are part of the character of our town. This is a challenge we can't just sweep under the rug or go through the history lessons about what we did this and then. We've got to tackle it head on. There is a challenge that I want to point out, though. Some of this is going to come down from the state, and I'm not sure that that's the best approach for us in our region. So my commitment, this is what I do in my current job, we've got to watch the state mandates and make sure we're working with our partners nearby, particularly Woodbridge and Bethany, and make sure that we're working collaboratively to increase our housing supply in the right way. Secondly, I have met so many families who are living in multi-generational households. It's been one of the most incredible things I've learned in this campaign. What a special opportunity for you and your grandkids and your grandparents to live together in a home. And I know that there's some zoning regulations to allow that. I'd be very interested in learning more about what we could do to continue that trend. Again, we have incredible opportunities for young people and incredible opportunities for our retirees in this town. It seems like another smart way to move housing forward in our town. Another way I want to talk about this, though, is about how we all belong in this community. Right now, about 100 houses are sold in our town every single year. It's hard to tell if they're new families or not, or if they have experiences in this community when they were children like I did. But the sooner we can include those families as volunteers, as part of the PTA, as part of our boards and commissions, the better. Our community thrives because we have diverse people from diverse backgrounds that come to live here. And the sooner we bring them into our community fully, the better.
Mr. Zioli, do you have a rebuttal?
Yes. Well, the first one there, I guess it's kind of good news for everybody in this room. If the median household income, or household value, I should say, not your income, is up to $650,000. For many of you who've been here for years, that's a great thing. Your home is your biggest asset. And that's not a bad thing that that asset increased. It's kind of like an investment, again, in the market or a CD or something like that. You made that investment at some point in time, and it has risen. That's a great thing. I think that we want as many people as we can to come here. I don't see a problem welcoming people to the community, and some people come in and ask or email or something to see if they're, how they could get involved or when an event is happening or something like that. But the houses still sell so rapidly that I don't think that it is a tremendous problem. Some of our young people do incredibly well, and I see some of them that I drove to school that have purchased $1 million homes in town. But what drives that makes that so hard is the cost value of an acre of land in the town of Orange is $250,000, $350,000 now if you can find a lot. I have one young man I know and his wife that are building a house. They already own their land, 2,200 square foot house. They have a $550,000 borrow to build a 2,200 square foot home. The price of the land and the construction costs
Mr. Zioli,
are what drive it.
thank you.
Thank you.
Did I say that it was a bad thing that the value of her house has gone up? What I mean to say is that it changes.
Dan, I'm sorry. The next question is for you, but yeah.
Sorry, y'all, I got excited.
It's okay. You're going to have a chance to speak in just a second. And this is a related question. If more mixed-use housing or apartments are built in Orange, that will increase the number of renters here. How do you view the difference between renters and homeowners, and how can the town be welcoming to both?
Did I say that your house value going up is a bad thing? It is not a bad thing that the value of your house is going up. The challenge is that it changes the character of who can afford to live in our town. That's why I wanted to address that question, and it's related to this question. Whether you rent, or whether you own, or whether you're in a condo, or whether you're living with your children, or your grandparents living with your children, it makes no difference. I feel very firmly that regardless of what circumstances bring you to living in Orange, to be even more clear, perhaps even you work in Orange and you don't live in Orange, we are a community. Many of our teachers don't live in Orange. They're critical to our community. Many of our business owners don't live in Orange. They're critical to the fabric of our community. And I regret to share this, but over and over again, when I'm talking with people in our town, they have not felt welcomed. They have been told that despite moving here in second grade, they're not from Orange. That is a perception that I'm sharing tonight. I don't know if it's real or not. It's a perception that I hear again and again and again, and I'm reflecting it back to you. It's my priority to make sure that the opportunities that are available for people to understand how our town works. For example, when I first moved here, I did not know that the garbage wasn't picked up. That's not embarrassing to say. I hear that all the time. I want to make sure everybody understands how to get involved in our community. I moved to this small town to be involved in the life of its community. But if you don't know when things are happening and how to do it because our town website's not updated, you'll never be able to join. Like I said earlier, the sooner we bring a new family or a business owner or a teacher into the volunteerism of our town and make them feel like they belong here, the better. And I just want to say one more thing about that. 10% of our community right now is Asian. Whether they're Chinese, Japanese, South Asian, there's a rich cultural heritage in our town that is different than 20 years ago. And I really think it's important we think of the entire community when we think about what I'm saying about being included and involved in our town events, in decisions that our town is making, and being aware that those decisions are being made at a particular meeting. This full room tonight is a clear indication that we've made a difference during our campaign and we've reached an awareness about the decisions our town is about to make for its first selectmen. I really appreciate this full room being here. We should have full rooms in more of our board and commission meetings. We should have no shortage of volunteers to take care of the incredible events and activities that take place in our town. I'm committed to making that happen.
All right, Jim, go ahead, starting now.
I think you can repeat that question because I'm not sure if the answer lined up there.
Sure.
I'm not sure.
If more mixed-use housing or apartments are built in Orange, that will increase the number of renters here. How do you view the difference between renters and homeowners, and how can the town be welcoming to both?
Renters are the same as homeowners. They live here, they're raising their families here, they're being part of the community here. The difference is they pay a landlord pays the town of Orange. The assessor has a very good process of making sure that these apartment-type buildings, again, Firelight will use that as the example, pay their fair share because they're collecting pretty significant rents, anywhere from, I think, $2,200 or $2,600 up to $3,800 or $4,000 a month rent per unit, and there's 73 units in the Firelight Plaza. Robert's comment to me after he had met with the assessor a few times trying to get an adjustment, "He's killing me," was his response. And I said, well, that's good, because you're collecting a lot of rents out of that building, so you need to make sure that you pay enough to justify all of those people that are attending the schools, using the services, having the needs. So whether it's a homeowner paying their taxes individually or a landlord paying, there's a balance that has to be sure that it happens. As far as welcoming, I think that we have been extremely welcoming to a lot in our community. I think some of you may remember a post I had over the summer when the Chimaya up on Route 34, the Indian temple up there was celebrating their anniversary. And they invited me, and a lot of them know me, and we had really a great time there, and they brought me in to show me all that they had done to the old mansion house up there on the hill and all, and it was a wonderful experience. And, you know, this is what we deal with. We were talking about restaurants one night, and I posted about some restaurants that were opening, and we are a draw, for some reason, our region, to Asian-type restaurants. That's good, I like it. And my opponent made a comment, well, we need another restaurant, but as long as it's not another, I forget if it was Asian or sushi-type restaurant, and that was on Facebook. These are immigrant families that are working to come here, run a business, raise their families. The Thai restaurant, that family lives on the apartments at Firelight. They're wonderful people. They're working so their son will be better than them. And they work like mules over there to do the best that they can. That's welcoming the people. Go and support the people, no matter what they are.
So Dan, now you have the opportunity to follow up.
Sure thing. I just want to be very clear about what I'm here to do tonight, because I'm not here to score political points or make any gotcha moments. Mr. Zealy knows exactly what he just said is not factual. What I do want to make sure you understand is that I have laid out a very clear idea about how we make our town feel more welcoming, and we've done it during the campaign. We hosted 3 open town hall forums where anybody could come and meet our candidates. They were family friendly. We served ice cream. There was a coloring table in the back, and we were a community. We've talked with 12,000 different folks at their doors or on the phones or at community events. We are listening. We are engaged with our community. And that, at the end of the day, is one of the most important things you want to see in your next first selectman. Do they understand what's going on in Orange in 2025? Because we're getting ready for 2026 and 2027.
All right, next question. How will you work with the state legislative delegation and state officials to further the interests of the town and to make sure it has a voice in policy decisions? Jim, you'll go first.
Okay, the state legislature does a great job, and then COST and CCM and COG, South Central Council of Governments, all post when different hearings are going to be held. And sometimes we actually even get emails from the state representatives when something is a very important topic to us. And you go to Hartford, or you can submit testimony, both of which I've done. I've sat on boards in Hartford, so it's a good feeling that you get to go and interact with those people for the benefit of whether it be a housing issue, a food issue, a financial thing. These are all important topics. However, sometimes our representatives come to see us, and I got to say, Mary's sitting over there, and she has always done a great job. She absolutely has. Yes, absolutely. However, I had a senator and another representative came to see me, and we need a paving job done at Racebrook Track for the handicap walkway, and I threw it to them, saying, we need this. It's about $180,000. You know, it would be a good item for you guys to come up with as you're finding projects. And it was crickets. So sometimes you hit the nail on the head, and sometimes you miss the nail altogether. But we do work. We go up there. You have the opportunity. The hearings are posted. That's usually through the late fall, early winter, late winter, sometimes even into the spring as they're formulating the budget. But they do a great job getting us up there to make it possible to advocate for our community or for the region. And those three organizations I mentioned, COST, CCM, and COG, also do a great job of keeping us informed of when we should be there or submit testimony to them. Done.
Thank you. Dan?
So this question is about how I would work with our state delegation in Hartford on behalf of you all. So again, the number one thing I want our state delegation to know tonight is that we're looking for grant dollars. The state receives your income taxes, your sales taxes, and they sit up there in Hartford. Until we work together to bring those grant dollars down to our community to help pay for the critical improvements that the state wants to see done. Oftentimes, that's infrastructure projects. Oftentimes, it's big, complicated projects that would be really difficult for us to pay for just out of our local taxes. Now, I want to say something about grants because there's a step our town often misses the mark on. It's called planning. We can work so much more easily with our state delegation if we have a plan for what projects we want to get done. You don't just throw it to them, Mr. Zioli. You have a long-range plan on the types of projects you'd like to do around town. There are many projects we need to do around town that would be eligible for state grant funding. Our town recently received a $600,000 state grant, and we didn't have any project ready to go except repaving the library parking lot and some paving behind this community center. Can you think of other projects that we could have spent $600,000 on? We just didn't have a ready-to-go plan. This is what I've spent my career doing. You have to be strategic about the work you'd like to do as an organization. Make sure you have the plans and the partnerships in place. No doubt, our state delegation, doesn't matter if they're Democrats or Republicans, are going to do an exceptional job advocating on our behalf up in Hartford if we work with them and have a plan with them together. I also want to say our neighboring towns are doing this already. Woodbridge received an $8 million grant from the state to advance economic development projects. Couldn't we benefit from even a $2 million grant from the state to advance economic development projects? The differentiators, they had a plan, they worked with their state delegation, they applied, and they got it. I also want to say one more thing about the pressure facing our town financially. Again, that's one of my biggest priorities. I see town leaders, first selectmen and mayors alike, up in Hartford all the time. That is where I work in the state capitol. And they're advocating for important improvements to how our property taxes work, important improvements to our education funding works, and we're not at that table. It's what my career has been all about, and I commit firmly to continuing that effort to making sure Orange residents are represented at the Capitol every single day when those decisions are being made.
Jim, do you have a rebuttal?
Yes. The paving of the library and the additional parking lot and the rear parking lot at this building and some work on Lambert Road were in dire need of being done. That's a steep grant that we applied for and we received. The town puts in $150,000, the state put in $600,000. I don't know how many of you use the library or the additional parking or park in the rear lot over here by the tennis courts, but they were in dire need of repair. And that was the project that was picked to maintain those, since this is your community center here and your library over there. We have gotten many grants. How many of you traveled Derby-Milford Road down by Grassy Hill Road? How many of you had to go the other way when the bridge was closed? That bridge was, I forget, $2.3 million grant, I think, for that one. Brookside Glenbrook Road right now is a $3 million project. Over $1 million of that is grant money onto that one. We have a lot SIP project that will be happening on Pine Tree and Peck Lane for the flooding down there. It's got LOTSIP. It's another one of those acronym grants that we're getting. It's approved, it's going through all its processes. The list goes on and on with grants that we have received both on the town side and the school side. To say that this town has not searched out grants is disingenuous at best, because without knowledge, hold on, without the knowledge of what we've done, making a statement like that is very dangerous, because we have searched out and received millions in grants.
Thank you. This next question goes to Dan first. Connecticut does not have county governments, but it does have regional councils of governments, called COGs. Orange is part of the South Central Regional COG. What can our COG do better, and what kinds of regional policies will you pursue there?
Many people do not know that Connecticut doesn't have counties, so I think everyone just learned that tonight for the first time. But our regional councils of government are a critical structure around which we can do so much across our borders. I've been to many of those meetings over the course of my career and presented to the Council of Governments on topics of concern, like financial hardship, like the economic work I've been doing over the course of my career. The COG in our region is doing an incredible job with affordable housing work. They're running regular workshops to make sure town leaders understand the issue, and they're working across town lines to get things done. The new law that the state is likely to pass in the next couple of weeks to expand housing across the state is going to depend on regional partnerships like that. That's what they want to incentivize doing. I'm also aware, secondly, that our town already participates in a lot of regional cost-sharing opportunities with our neighboring towns, which I would want to continue doing, if not expand doing, because our town is one of the smallest in our region. So we would greatly benefit from being a collaborator and a partner with Milford, West Haven, all the way going over to the other councils or the other towns like Madison. We are going to be a partner in those endeavors as I'm first selectman. The only thing I would say that is difficult for our COG right now, but I would advocate we do better, is our presence within the state government structure. So our COG is one of the least active when it comes to lobbying the state legislature to make sure our region, which has unique issues and unique concerns, gets what it needs. And I do believe that part of their charge is to be our voice up there in Hartford as well, to make sure that we're getting policies passed and funding passed, and some of that funding actually goes through the COG, which would give us, again, more opportunities to access state dollars. Our COG also controls a lot of federal dollars. So again, my working relationship with the Council of Governments, which every member of every first selectman or mayor is seated in the Council of Government, that's how it works. I look forward to being a really strong collaborator with our neighbors there.
All right, Jim?
Repeat.
I'm sorry?
Repeat the question.
Reread it? Yeah. Connecticut does not have county governments, but it does have regional councils of governments. Orange is part of the South Central Regional COG. What can our COG do better, and what kinds of regional policies will you pursue there?
Our COG is a good COG. We had a director who became a little bit lax in his later years of administration there, and then he was urged to retire. And we have an excellent director in there now for the last few years, Laura Francis, who was the first selectman of Durham and is doing an outstanding job, and they have expanded the COG. I was chairman of the COG. I've been chairman of it twice. It's made up of 15 communities that go from Milford-Orange all the way out to Guilford, Madison, that way, and all the way up to Meriden. But it's a 15-town community. It does a very good job. And a big part of when I first started dealing with it, they were transportation-oriented. Now they've expanded into a lot more areas. And Jim Rode, who's been with them for many years, handles the transportation side, and he is our liaison working on the center turn lane projects on the Post Road, both coming from the Milford Mall towards Orange and Orange towards them. It's an extremely slow process with the state of Connecticut, but they are mapping that out. The Lot Zip project, which I mentioned, which is Pine Tree Drive, Peck Lane, was also overseen through Jim Road and the Council of Governments. We use them quite a bit, and we work with them and sign on to letters, and we meet the Wednesday, I think it is, after every month after the Board of Selectmen, the following Wednesday, third Wednesday of the month, I believe. And whether you're there in person or remotely, there's a lot of good work that goes on there in all of our communities. But the biggest part of it is transportation. They have expanded into the affordable housing one. They had David Fink there for a long time, who was a guru of that, working on that, and he interviewed all of us, all of the town leaders of each of the 15 communities for that. So they are expanding. We've taken up more office space over there so that they could expand services. And it's there's really great people there. They have 2 grant writers on staff. We don't need to hire a grant writer. If you want to apply for grants, they have 2 grant writers that are free for any of the 15 towns to use. They're readily available. So I look forward to standing and working with the COG for the next 2 years again, because we have more transportation projects to go. I'm done.
All right, Dan, you can rebut.
Thank you. So the Council of Governments is only one regional organization we have that serves our community. We have a regional tourism group. We have a regional economic development group. I was the executive director of our regional arts and cultural group, and I now work with our regional United Way. And I regret to say that Orange was not one of the participating towns in any of the work that I did, whether it was providing grants. I'm not talking about the tourism board and the economic development, Anne Marie. I'm saying as executive director of the Arts Council, I did not have a great response from the town of Orange, and I did not have great response at United Way from the town of Orange. I really am committed to working in an efficient and collaborative way, not just with all of our residents, but I think it's the job of the first selectman to be actively collaborating on all of your behalves with all of those regional groups in our community.
Next question, changing the subject a bit. Road safety is an ongoing concern for many, including around areas like Mary L. Tracy School. What plans would you pursue to increase safety? What is your position on red light cameras and speed cameras? And Jim will go first.
Interesting. Been a hot topic lately. Some feel we need it badly. Others are fighting it tooth and nail. We do have plate monitoring cameras up already. There was confusion over this, and now, once we got that straightened out, it was alleged that I had received and buried the information regarding the red light cameras, and then we found out that the information had never been forwarded to the First Selectman's office. So that was number one. It will be coming to the Board of Selectmen, I think it's coming for its first view. What they do is we have to put it on, if it's an ordinance change, it will be filed for this month to the Board of Selectmen, the November month, and then it will be heard at the December one. This month, we are having the second hearing, and action will be taken on one for road takeovers, which was started to push the legislature through with Justin Elicker, and then a lot of the other mayors and First Selectmen joined on to that one. So that's the one when you're going down the post road and you're all of a sudden hearing all that buzzing and noise, and you're looking in your mirror and you're watching motorcycles and quads and stuff come zipping by you or around you and all. So that's the one that's being discussed this month, or November. It's not there yet, almost. The red light camera one will be put forward November first readings, December for action. An interesting thought there, though, that I did pitch out to the selectmen. The police have only dealt with one company, and this may have impacts and all on the town or town finances that need to be fleshed out. And so I said, you know, are we going to bid this out? And so now there's some concern over that. And actually, after there's an article published this week, I received email from another company that's interested in being considered for this possibility also. And interestingly enough, both Mitch and I agree on this one, that it's something that we need to consider. What are the financial impacts of this? And should the town of Orange just go with the one that's recommended, or should we look at others? It'll be a 6-month to a year implementation process, but it may happen with time. I think it will. It's for your main roads. That's why the DOT has to approve the plan, which is now being formulated and data being put out there that will make it work. As far as Mary L. Tracy, they've worked hard trying to straighten that out with making traffic limited, the way it enters there and parks there and all. Where are we? We're done? Okay, I'm done.
Thank you.
This question is about red light and speeding cameras. And this is very personal to me. This is something I've been working on since before I announced I was running for first selectman. Because my kids are 10 and 13. They're much closer to driving than wearing diapers. I live off Route 34, right next to the middle school, where there's no sign that says you're in a school zone, where there's no sign that says what the speed limit is. I've tried every angle to make our roads safer for me and my pets and my kids and my neighbors. That said, when the state in 2023 allowed towns to create a program for automated traffic enforcement safety cameras, I thought this was the best idea, because this is what most states do, because it's an effective and efficient way to reduce speeding and make sure people stop at the red lights. It's not about making money. It's not about surveillance. It's about safety. And this is why I'm so dismayed, and I've shared this many times, and I've talked with so many folks around town about this. Our police department wants to install red light cameras. They have identified locations where they would like to install red light cameras. They've done the traffic studies to make sure they understand if we would qualify to the State Department of Transportation to do the program. They've done an incredible job. I greatly appreciate our police department for the hard work they've been doing. I continue to be confused about why Mr. Zioli is not more aggressively engaging with our police department on this topic. They've made it very clear to me that they do not have enough police officers to adequately make sure everyone's stopping at red lights where they should. No town in the state of Connecticut has enough police officers to adequately make sure that you could stop at red lights. I've met so many parents of high school-aged kids who tell their kids to wait 5 seconds before the light turns green, before they go to high school. That's embarrassing, and there's a solution right in front of us. So the answer to this question is yes. I'm completely for installing these red light cameras like our police department wants to do, and I will stop at nothing to make sure the First Selectman's office and all of our town departments get involved in that effort. I will stop at nothing to make sure that the community has their chance to voice their opinion about this. That's how you pass a town ordinance. You would all have the opportunity to share, learn, and get input to the Board of Selectmen before they make any changes. What I really want to know is what Mr. Zioli thinks about this. I did not hear an answer. We deserve an answer. This is a public safety concern that we all should know about.
Jim, do you have a rebuttal?
Yep. You won't hear an answer from me. Not until it's before the Board of Selectmen, which is the appropriate spot for that to be. There's more data that's going to be put out there. It was not done by the police. It was done by the company that is trying to wheedle their way in. They did the camera tests on 34 Derby, Milford, and Orange Center Road. There may be another company involved. We don't know that. I did not have the data, as was repeatedly said at selectmen meetings. It was asked why I don't have it. I had never been given it. And then the guy from the company, when he sat in my office to explain the program, acknowledged that they didn't give me the data. I didn't stall anybody. I didn't bury anything. It was not given to me by the company. He thought he only had a deal through the police. There's a whole process that it has to go through, and he knew how it went. So to say that I've stalled it or held it up. Again, another disingenuous, factless comment. Sorry. Done.
All right, this question goes to Dan first. What will you do to make sure the Fred Wolf Park master plan gets implemented?
So Fred Wolf Park is an absolute beacon in our community. It is a place where right now so many kids are enjoying the fields, playing soccer, lacrosse, hanging out at the playground, and thank you to Representative Wieslander for herself applying for the state grant to receive that incredible playground. We've also just completed a multi-year community process. Everyone has had a chance to submit their ideas and input, and we have this incredible consulting firm called BL Companies who has put together a very clear roadmap for the next few years. I want to say roadmap because it is a guide for how we're going to do development. What I have committed and our whole team is committed to doing is doing the very first phase of that roadmap, which is simply to upgrade the parking areas and make a road around the park, which is critical for safety and critical so we can continue to the next phases of the project. We cannot afford to wait any longer. We've been waiting since 2013, when the last master plan was finished, to get the shovels in the ground on just the basics. We are proposing that we do this with a small town bond. We have a AAA bond rating, and that is a reason to do that. You don't need a AAA bond rating if you're not going to apply for a small bond to pay for the cost of that parking area and the road over the life of it, which is for many, many generations. But I want to make sure everybody understands one thing, because at the recent meeting that I attended, there were some concerns brought up by neighbors about how this process was going to move forward. I understand their concerns. It's hard to know when the meetings are happening. It's very unclear when there's an opportunity to create input. I've met neighbors who've never been directly engaged on this project, but they live right within the area. So one thing I will commit to doing moving forward out loud is continuing the Fred Wolf Committee. We've got to add some neighbors to it. We've got to add some folks from the athletic groups to it as well. We've got to round that group out because we need more community input. Every phase that we start is going to require more community input. Is pickleball still popular a year or two from now when we start phase 2? Let's make sure we have a public process to make that clear. Public process is a critical part of applying for state grants as well. The rest of this project, phase 2, 3, and 4, are incredible opportunities to bring down state, federal, even private grant dollars so that we can afford to have a park that we all deserve. It's not going to be on the backs of homeowners, and this is the type of thing that everybody across generations is going to enjoy when we're completed.
All right, Jim, your turn.
Well, I'll start off with, Dan's referred to that 2013 plan at each debate. Unfortunately, that plan was flawed, and the main entry-exit that was designed for it wasn't doable. The Peck Lane, Pine Tree Drive intersection was not doable, as determined, not by me, by the Army Corps of Engineers. Also, the wetland area to the west of the parking of the soccer area. Any activity over there has to go through, again, review by the Army Corps of Engineers, anything over 5,000 square feet. There's several rules that have to be followed for it. It's all going to be done, but it's going to be done over time. There will be bonding for some of that. Some of it will be paid for through other grants and all. Just recently, there was a person who thought that we could just pay for the whole first phase because we had $21 million in surplus sitting in a bank account somewhere. Unfortunately, we don't have $21 million sitting in a bank account. It's in the budget and it's in the audit. You just have to know how to read it in order to understand that. But we can get parts of the project done, and we will get parts of the project done one step at a time. And there's things that have to still be addressed there. because there's going to have major financial impacts. If you add more grass, there's more maintenance, which is more impacts. If you take the soccer program away from the OSA and Amity Soccer League and take that and turn that over to the Park and Rec Department, that has more impacts other than just the parents signing up online to play soccer. That's an association that has managed that for, I think, 30-plus years. So there's a lot of learning curve that would happen there. That lacrosse fields that are there, we were promised that we would only put $15,000 into it. Well, $135,000 later when I got done, you have very nice lacrosse fields. And there will be a driveway up to it coming in around from Oak View, and there will be expanded parking over there as part of that and the road that's going to go up on that side, which will be potentially basketball, pickleball, tennis, and eventually will go all the way around the park and bring you back to the soccer side. I'm done.
All right, Dan, go ahead.
I'm glad Mr. Zeoli has come around and he is committed to moving the renovation forward at Fred Wolf Park.
It will be on the December.
It's my turn, sir. My turn.
Selectmen's
What I want
meeting.
everyone to understand, though, is that I have been committed to renovating Fred Wolf Park since we started this campaign and we put our first priorities out in July. I've been committed to doing this because all of you in our community have asked that we move the renovation forward. It's not up to any one person. And I just encourage everybody who's here and everybody who's involved in this project to create a park that everyone in our community across generations can enjoy, to continue speaking out. There is not one person who can block this project if we all work together and try to get it done.
We're going to have our last question now. We've seen a lot of volatile disagreements in how leaders engage with those they don't agree with at the national and local levels recently. How will you work with and engage with people who don't agree with you? What differentiates you as a candidate in this area? Jim, you'll go first.
Okay, first thing is, that is on the agenda for the December meeting, Wolf Park, just so you know. People think that sitting in this chair that haven't done it, think that it's easy and you just agree with everybody who comes in. That is not the case. You get people who badger you, poke you, haunt you, and demand answers. I don't put up with it. You want to keep badgering me? I'm not answering you. If you ask a question that we can answer, you get your answer. But if you wish to harass, whether at meetings or email or phone, it's not happening. It is not going to happen. And so that's how you work with people, quality people who want to be a significant part of your community for the good of your community, not to be a thorn. A thorn gets pulled out by a pair of pliers and discarded. It is very important that you work with everybody in the town, but you deserve respect if you're expected to give respect. And that's how I feel on that.
Two things. First of all, just to let some air out of the room. My current role and in all of my roles have been in non-partisan work. I've worked with Democrats, Republicans, unaffiliateds, doesn't matter what your political party is. And that includes in the work I do right now at the Capitol. Because I want to work with people who want to get things done. And to get things done, you need as many people as possible under your tent, at your table. Secondly, I told you at the beginning, my number one value is service. Values are not to be compromised. It does not matter to me if you're upset, if you're of a certain political party, if you wear a certain kind of clothes, if you're from a certain background. It is absolutely critical in this day and age because we are seeing national political agendas present in our local community, the sense that you belong, but you don't. I want to work with you, but you're a thorn. That is not how I operate. I never have, and I never will. My value of service is unequivocal, and I really believe that our town is ready for leaders who represent that every day. I'm a very good listener. The first selectman should be your listener in chief. I might not agree with you, but I will listen. I will take everything you say to me seriously. I will hear all your ideas, even your insane ideas, because that is my job. That has been my job in the past. I didn't step up to run as first selectman to only represent some people in our town. I stepped up to represent everybody in our town. We have done that in our campaign. We have met thousands of people of different political parties, different backgrounds, different times they've lived in Orange, different lived experiences. That is part of what makes this country such an incredible place to live. And again, it is part of what is being a small town. You can't be a small town like this and pick sides. You can't be a small town like this and say that I want to work with you and I don't want to work with you. It's perhaps why we've stalled for so long. I'll just close by saying it is a deeply held value of mine. It has nothing to do with winning this election. It is who I am at the core. Thank you.
I guess I only work with Republicans. That's interesting. For 20 years, I've worked with Republicans and Democrats. But what I said was, if you don't want to be fair and reasonable the way you do it, you want to poke and prod, that takes respect away from the game. And I will stick with that. However, I work with Democrats and Republicans and unaffiliates and every other group that there is. And for anybody to think that the town of Orange has not moved forward in these 20 years, those of you who've lived here for a long time and you think that the town hasn't moved forward is absolutely ridiculous. And for those of you who are new to this community, why did you pick this community? Because you liked what you saw.
All right, now, we are finished with the question portion, so we're going to move on to closing statements, beginning with Dan. Why are you the best choice for first selectman?
Well, first of all, thank you so much to the Milford-Orange Times and this very full room for being here tonight. I want you to imagine what our town could feel like 2 years from today. 2 years from now, you could be driving down the Post Road and finally seeing businesses moving into our vacant retail spaces. You're going to see construction happening in our commercial areas. Our Municipal Economic Development Department within our town hall is going to be making sure those projects are moving along quickly and safely and securing grants every month. Thanks to this new revenue, our property taxes are holding, and we're still able to invest in the things that matter to us. The dust has finally settled on Fred Wolf Park because we've finished the first phase of the master plan renovation. Everybody's enjoying the improved and safe parking, and the road that's going around the park opens us up for the next phases of the project. In fact, we're already hosting listening sessions and community forums about what those next phases should be and researching the grant dollars we can bring down to make it happen without raising your tax dollars. When something needs fixing around town, you just open up your phone, take a photo, and send it in to Orange Connect, which is a simple, non-emergency system so you can report an issue and track it from start to finish. Residents appreciate seeing that things are getting done and being respectfully monitoring it happening. Our town employees have wondered why we didn't get this sooner, because it helps them proactively make sure they're fixing small issues before they become big, complicated ones. And our schools, they're stronger than ever. Parents are feeling heard by our local boards of education, teachers are feeling supported by adequate school budgets, and our kids are learning in classrooms that are focused on academics, inclusion, and excellence. We are on track to having some of the very best schools in our state. That's what Orange can feel like when we choose a first selectman with vision, work ethic, and the values to move us forward. This is what this election comes down to. We can stay the course with absolutely no clear plans for what he wants to do for the next 2 years, or move forward with a very clear plan to strengthen our community. Above all else, I'll make the same promise I've made every debate. I am going to serve everyone in this community with openness, accountability, and respect. Every day, no matter what. It doesn't matter how long you've lived here, what political party you're part of, or any other difference that we can come up with. That is the job of the first selectman. Even now, if you have any questions, or you have any ideas, or if you want to just talk, send me a text, give me a call. It's 203-710-2966. I would love to listen to them. I'd love to take your ideas seriously and think about them as we move forward. If you are as ready as I am to make sure that our future is as strong as our past, then I humbly and sincerely ask for your vote this year. Thank you so much.
All right, Jim, it's your turn.
It was interesting. At least we acknowledge that our schools are strong, have been strong, education budgets have been supported. Been here 20 years, so I guess that's a good thing. Those things are all going right. The Fred Wolf Park group, I think I appointed the people to push that forward. I think it has a lot of questions still that need to be answered, some of which I already alluded to earlier. But I think that there is possibility there for everybody to have a part in that formation. They've posted a lot of meetings, they've had a lot of meetings, they've announced a lot of meetings. There's so many other events and happenings in this town that people enjoy as part of the fabric of the reason they moved to this town. Again, I say it, why did you move to Orange? Because you liked what you saw. That's why you moved here. Why did you move to Fieldstone Village? Because you liked what you saw. Why did you buy a house in the town of Orange? Because you liked what you saw. You liked the way the town was managed, how beautiful it is, the open space areas all around. You need to understand the community before you're gonna run. You can't run until you walk. That's how I feel about the community. I think that it's been interesting, I'll say that. I'm hearing from people that are out there knocking on, getting their doors knocked on, I guess. And I had a man in yesterday, well, he and his wife are both registered Democrats who've lived here all their lives. And they were very dismayed when they were told that Jim is a Trumpy and Jim's going to ruin the town. Well, 20 years later, I still haven't ruined the town, and Jim isn't the Trumpy that they're trying to portray. Then I heard from a woman who came with the same thing. So evidently it's out there. I'm not a Trumpy. I am a person who watches what the town of Orange needs. What Donald Trump does, some of the things we may agree with, some of the things we may strongly disagree with. Right now, I'm not in favor of his program of importing Argentinian beef. because in my other life, I know about farming, and I know what that'll do to the cattle farmers in America. However, look at the price of oil. Any of you who heat your homes with oil, the price of the barrel is way down, and it's fluctuating around $60 a barrel, I think, today. 3 weeks ago, it was $73 to $76 a barrel, I think. That's a big difference. It's a big difference when it goes in your tank at your house. So I don't agree with everything, but there are some things that are good. He's helping to bring ceasefires to some of these war-ravaged areas. I do agree with that. That's not a bad thing. If you think he's a bad guy for it, too bad. I think that stopping wars is kind of important, because many of you in this room have young people who could end up in those wars. So I look forward to steering this town for the next 2 years, as I have for the last 20, and thank you for your time.
There's one person in this room who's really told Jim to be quiet, and that's Sophie. Sophie, thank you very much again. And Dan as well. Gentlemen, thank you so much for participating. It's been wonderful to hear your views. And just as a little personal, a plug for the paper, our next issue is out on Thursday. These two guys will have 1,000 words each to discuss their candidacy. The paper is 44 pages. We've never been more than 36. So it's a good issue, and I thank everyone who's participated. Early voting. I voted early for the first time. I really did want to. I wanted to vote. I like the crowds and all of that stuff, but I did vote early, and it was fun to do. It was easy and quick. It's open until the 2nd, and voting in High Plains is November the 4th. So thanks again, everybody. Be safe. Thank you.